Hello everybody, and welcome back to the World Sim Racing Competition, or WSRC, where anybody can compete, hold hard cash, in one of our hosted racing sessions. Today, we have our first ever GT3 race on Motorsport Arena, Oschersleben. We have a nice variety of cars and a lot of familiar faces on the track today. We have Paulo who qualified P1, Callum in P2, Birkin P3, Ryan P4, Morgan P5, and 6th is Costa. Thank you everybody for returning to another brilliant race of WSRC. And today the field is looking a bit more spectacular than usual. We've got the BMWs, the Porsches, no McLarens unfortunately, the Mercedes, and the Ferraris. We've got a nice wide array of different GT3 cars, which should make for some great racing today, as each of these cars have their own little quirks that will lead to faster and slower sections of the track, yet an overall similar pace. And the grid is particularly tight today with the skill level, with Paulo, Callum and Birkin all being within 0.2 second difference. It's just one of those things where we expect to see extremely tight racing, and that's what it's all about. Now they're just doing their outlap, trying to get some heat into their tires, getting ready for when the lights turn green. This is our second race of the day before we did the MX-5 race, and now we're onto the GT3, the faster, bigger cars. For more prize pool. Today we have the prize pool of $27.50 being split among the top 3 finishers of this race. So anyone that makes it to the podium will finish with a 33% share of the prize pool. So the elbows will be out. You don't have to come first this race. All you need is a 3rd place to get the max money, or close to the max money, because it'll be a 33, 33 and 34% split if we want to get technical. And now we're coming through the chicane of this race. We see that everybody is locked in and everybody is ready to race. Nobody came here to come last, and everybody is looking competitive. All the lap times are similar and close, and we are all ready to dive into this race as they turn around through the final corners of this track. All the cars weaving now, getting those tires warm, heating up those brakes, making sure everything is ready and perfect by the time the green lights flash. I'm excited for this race, I have to say. I love watching some GT3s, the cars look great, the speed is higher, the intensity of the racing is more. So let's see if we have a race on our hands today. The pace car leading out the front. It's just one of those things. As we're approaching now the final corner of the outlap, Paulo will be looking to get a good run coming out of this rolling start, try and maximize his advantage of being P1. And it looks like we are off. The green lights are underway and everybody is racing. No positions have changed just yet. Everybody side by side. Morgan looking to dive down the inside of Ryan. Now he's gained 1 position. Ryan down 1 in the yellow Merc. Paulo still leading our race. 1, 2 and 3 have not changed. Morgan up 1, Ryan down 1, Costa still last place. Everybody is going around in perfect formation. The pack is still tight and the racing is close. 0.3 seconds to P1. Callum in the Porsche. Paulo in the BMW. We have 2 BMWs in the podium currently and 1 Porsche. And it looks like Ryan and Costa, some moves are being made back here. Ryan was able to reclaim his position and moved up to P4. Checking back in with our leaders, with Birkin, Callum and Paulo, all within 1 second difference between each other. This GT3 grid is starting to spread out that little bit as we complete the first lap of this race. The 2 Ferraris at the back, does this mean that they're inferior cars on this track? We'll never know. And we're going around. 0.4 seconds now gap to the leader. The Porsche is gaining on the BMW slightly. Ryan is looking to get his mark back to enter that podium. All he needs is to gain one position, but Ryan hits a massive curve and ends up spinning out. This is not what you want to see. He has made a recovery, but that is extremely unfortunate. This is why you really need to be aware of these sausage curves, and you can't get too overzealous. And there it is, just slightly tapping the yellow curb and seeing his dreams of easily acquiring P3 down into the gutter. It's still possible for a comeback, but he's going to have to work extra hard now. 6.4 second gap to P1. And the rest of the races, Costa now moved up into P5 from P6. Morgan still in P4. These racers are fighting now, and they want to get it done. They want to enter the podium positions so they can secure the prize money in the first ever GT3 race. Currently the standings, Paulo in first, Callum in second, Birkin in third, Morgan in fourth, Costa in fifth, and sixth is Ryan. Let's check back in with our leader now with a 1.1 second gap to second place. Second and third are fighting hard though, the Porsche and the BMW. Let's get a closer look at that. The BMW moving to the outside of the first corner. The Porsche now at the back. Birkin was able to move up that one position on Callum and get the move done. The Porsche is now looking to try and get a comeback if he can, doing anything to try and get the move done. Both BMWs have their headlights on for some reason, even though it's daylight. Maybe it's a ploy to try and distract any other drivers in front of them. And we have Morgan up a position and Ryan down a position. And it looks like Costa has returned back into P6. Ryan must have made a move while we weren't watching in the yellow Merc to move up a position after his terrific and horrible spin out by touching the curb. Unfortunate to say the least. Birkin, now the gap is slightly extended, 1.5 seconds to our leader. But Paulo, Birkin and Callum, this is where the strategy of this 3 podium winner race comes into play. Will your racing instincts kick in, and will you fight tooth and nail to try and get the pride of securing P2 or P1, or will you just try and take it easy and maintain the gap to the 4th place driver behind you so you can easily secure the prize pool money? It's a question that many of us would say logically, I think I should just maintain 3rd position. But when the racer in you comes out, you know that if there's a gap, you're going to have to take it. And you'll put it all on the line just to move up that extra position without even considering the consequences. And that's exactly what we love to see here at WSRC. People fighting tooth and nail, fair, but bumper to bumper. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about getting the elbows out and fighting to see who's the best and who deserves the glory of being P1. Birkin has been able to maintain his pace. Paulo hasn't been able to shake him off just yet, and the first lap times are out so far. Paulo with a 125.111. Birkin only mere milliseconds, fractions of milliseconds behind with a 166. Callum a whole second down with a 126.1. Morgan very close behind as well with a 126.19. And Ryan with a 125.3. Ryan is making his way back up the field slowly. We've seen him before in other races, and we know this is what he is an expert at, making moves and getting it done. That's what it's all about. We'll be seeing him slowly climb up the leaderboard, and hopefully, if he can, reclaim his position in the podium. Paulo has been able to extend that gap just that little bit more. Now 1.6 seconds, so Paulo is in good stead to maintain, lead, and potentially win this race. But we're only 6 minutes into this race. Still 9 minutes of intense racing. The top 3 pack is still rather close, and it looks like we have a little bit of a battle between Ryan and Morgan. Morgan seems to have a bit of a rough internet connection, so we see a lot of flashing on the leaderboard there, up and down in positions. If we close in on Ryan now, we'll see that he must have been able to get the move done. He did, and he moved up to P4. Unfortunately, there was some internet connectivity issues which missed us from seeing that great overtake. But Ryan is on a mission. He is going to get back into the podium position. Only 5.5 seconds away from P3 with over 9 minutes left in this race. Over 8 minutes left in this race. Will he be able to do it, everyone? That's the question. Will he be able to secure a 33% share of this prize pool after a crash as well? So just imagine where he would be right now if there wasn't an incident earlier in this race. Morgan right on his tail, and then we have Costa a little bit further behind in the Marlboro Ferrari 296. A beautiful car, to say the least. Check back in with our leaders. Paulo, the gap has reduced slightly, 1.5, but it looks like the battle we should be watching is between Callum and Birkin. Only 0.3 seconds now between these two races. The stakes are higher than ever, and this is where you truly see the skill of these races come into play when the pressure is high. If you can't perform under the pressure, then it doesn't matter how well you do during hot lapping. It doesn't matter how perfect your lines are, because if you can't compete at the highest of levels when there's a car right on your rear bumper and your mirror, the only thing you see are the tail lights of the car behind, then racing isn't for you. But it doesn't look like that's the case for these individuals today, because the racing is on point. These individuals are racing like their lives are on the line. They are doing whatever it takes to get the moves done, as we've seen from Ryan already moving up 2 positions in this race after a spin. This is what it's all about, competing for glory and competing for cash on the World Sim Racing stage. For anyone that just joined, this is the World Sim Racing Competition, or WSRC, where anybody can join one of our hosted sessions and compete for cold hard cash in iRacing. This is our first ever GT3 race, and I'm sure we'll be running a few more again after this, because it is an absolute pleasure to see these beautiful cars go around the track at high speeds, battling with skilled drivers. Callum is right on Birkin's tail. Now, a little bit of a gap has extended with 0.5 seconds between the two drivers, and Paulo has been able to take advantage of these individuals fighting, now extending the gap by 2 seconds. Will Paulo be able to claim prize pool money and his first ever win at WSRC today? We will just have to see if he's able to maintain composure for the final 6 minutes of this race. Paulo has claimed prize money 2 times before with a 2nd and 3rd place, so he will be bugging, he will be itching to win this race and finally claim the title in WSRC. Callum and Birkin still 0.4 seconds away from each other, and Ryan 6 seconds to a podium position. With only 5 minutes left, he's going to have to make up more than 1.2 seconds per lap if he wants a chance of claiming some money in this race. Morgan and Costa still in P5 and P6. Costa with a 14-second gap to P1. He did say he was slightly off the pace today, but it doesn't matter because it's all about racing and having fun and getting in that practice, because you know next time we see Costa in this race, he'll be up there in the podium for sure. Morgan as well with a 126.19 in P5. We've seen some great racing from all of these races today across multiple races on WSRC. Everyone in this race has raced before, so that's how you know that these people are determined to win. And it looks like Callum is trying to make a move on Birkin now, trying to go around the outside through the chicane, but Birkin is denying that opportunity. Callum, slightly wider line, potentially looking for a swap back, but he is just a little bit too far behind to get the move done. He's going to have to take advantage of the immense downforce these GT3 cars have and get into the draft of Birkin to try and make something happen down the long straight of Motorsport Arena, Oschersleben. Paulo's gap has slightly decreased as Birkin has picked up the pace and picked up the intensity. Now only 1.8 second gap to the leader. The fastest time is still with Paulo though, with a 125.111 set only on the 2nd lap of this race. Now 3 minutes and 50 seconds left to this race. Will Ryan be able to claim back the 7-second deficit to P3? Will Callum be able to claim a P2 position? And will Birkin be able to remain his position? We'll never know until it happens, so we need to keep watching and keep looking at these drivers do what they do best, which is tear up the field ahead of them. Paulo's been able to extend that gap just that little bit more, but each corner we see it differ by around 0.2 seconds. So Birkin, Paulo and Callum, these three racers are all so closely matched in their skill level. You can definitely start to feel the frustration Callum would have with Birkin, Callum in the Porsche and Birkin in the BMW, as he has been behind him for the past 5 or 6 laps, I'm willing to say, only 0.3 seconds as well. If I go into the cockpit view of Callum, you'll see how close this looks. Perhaps not as close as I envisioned because the POV is a bit wide, but when you're this close to another driver, you start getting those intrusive thoughts of trying to dive bomb, trying to make something happen, but the key is just remaining composure. That's what it's all about. And it looks like Birkin has been able to extend the difference to Callum that little bit more, now with a 0.7 second gap between these two races. Checking in with Paulo, our leader, whose gap has now reduced to 1.1 seconds with only 2 minutes left. Birkin has the opportunity to potentially claim first position as the gap is reducing. This is what I meant when I said that it takes mental fortitude to be P1. It is no walk in the park. You have no one to chase, so you have to be responsible for setting all of the fast pace of the race. You need to be checking your delta to make sure that you're hitting the corners at the correct speed, that you're maintaining the pace that you know you're capable of, and that you're not letting off the gas and letting the people behind you catch up. You also need to be sure not to overdrive the car and spin out when you have a comfortable lead, like Paulo does now. 1.3 seconds, 2.1 seconds, 10 seconds, 13 and 18. That is the current split of the grid. Ryan still an 8-second gap to Callum, so it will be tough for him to make up that ground in the final lap, unless there is a major collision between these top 3 racers, which is always a possibility. The white flag has been waved, so we are now entering the final lap of this race. Paulo has to secure these final few corners if he wants the glory of claiming that he has won a WSRC, the first WSRC GT3 race to ever occur. Callum and Birkin, the heat is picking up between these drivers now, as the Porsche once again is right on Birkin's tail. We go into the cockpit view. This is what I was talking about before. When you are so close to the car ahead, it is so tempting to try and just lunge in. But if you're an experienced driver, you'll know that a lunge that doesn't equate to a pass will just make you drop 0.5 or 0.6 seconds and set you back so much more. It's all about maintaining composure and maintaining your balance in the car. 0.4 seconds between these two drivers. Paulo has been able to take advantage of this battling now. 2-second gap. Paulo just has to not crash as they go through the final chicane of this track. Ryan in 4th place, Morgan in 5th, and Costa in 6th. This race has been intense between these top 3 contenders, especially between P2 and P3. The Callum is right on Birkin's bumper as they exit the final corner. He's looking to try and potentially get in the draft and move to the side, but it isn't strong enough. And Paulo has won his first ever WSRC race. Birkin in 2nd place and Callum in the Porsche in 3rd place. Well done to all of the racers who have secured some prize money today in the first ever GT3 race. Ryan with an amazing comeback, climbing 2 positions after a horrendous spin, and Morgan and Costa in P5 and P6. That was a great race, everybody, an absolute pleasure to watch. And as these racers now are celebrating, doing a little bit of weaving and completing their final victory lap. Yeah, Ryan, that's agreed. It is a bit tough when the other racers on the track are blinking. And for those that don't know, blinking is just when the network connection for a driver is a little bit off, so you see the car appearing and disappearing. So it's tough trying to make moves on that because you don't know if you're going to end up crashing into them or not. But wow, that was a great performance by everybody, especially our top 3 finishers today, who are taking home a share of the $27.50 prize pool. Anybody looking to get into the next race, we are running a couple more races over the next 2 days, and we're streaming at the same time tomorrow to watch 2 more races. So if you're interested in either participating or watching, you can head over to https WSRC.live to join the Discord community, get involved, and join one of our next races. Thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.